They never told you the truth about life, that waiting quietly is the fastest way to die inside, that patience without action is just fear wearing a polite mask. Right now, in 2026, life is not coming to save you, it's testing whether you're ruthless enough to take it. While others are hoping, praying, and scrolling, winners are attacking. You don't become powerful by being ready, you become powerful by moving before you feel ready. Every second you delay, someone hungrier is replacing you. Comfort is the enemy, hesitation is betrayal, and excuses are the language of the weak. This year is not about motivation, it's about obsession. Attack your goals like they owe you money, move like time is chasing you. Discipline beats talent, speed beats planning, and action silences doubt. Stop waiting for signs, permission, or perfect conditions. None of that builds empires. Life respects urgency, rewards aggression, and bows to those who refuse to be average. Decide today that you are done being patient with a life that demands dominance. Start winning by attacking first. 2026 belongs to the relentless, not the polite. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards pressure, movement, and courage under fire. If you want a different life, you must become a different animal. Stop waiting for motivation, attack without mercy, and let results announce your arrival. Winners don't wait for life to change, they force it to. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because without it your emotions decide your life for you, and emotions are unreliable, impulsive, and weak under pressure. When you wake up and do only what you feel like doing, you are not free, you are controlled. Controlled by moods, cravings, fear, laziness, comfort, and distraction. True freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want in the moment. It is the power to do what must be done regardless of how you feel. Most people misunderstand this and chase pleasure thinking it equals happiness, but pleasure without discipline always ends in regret. The disciplined person earns the right to choose later because they chose responsibility first. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, waking up early, training when tired, working when bored, you strengthen your authority over your own mind. That authority is freedom. Without discipline, emotions become dictators. One bad mood ruins your day. One moment of fear kills your ambition. One wave of comfort delays your dreams for years. You start negotiating with yourself, making excuses, postponing action, and slowly your standards collapse. This is how people become slaves without chains. They are trapped in cycles of motivation and burnout, confidence and self-doubt, excitement and disappointment. Discipline breaks that cycle. It removes decision-making from weakness. You don't ask yourself if you feel like showing up. You show up because that's who you are. Identity built on discipline cannot be shaken by stress, criticism, or failure. Discipline also creates clarity. When your actions are consistent, your mind becomes calm. Anxiety comes from chaos, and chaos comes from lack of structure. A disciplined life has rules, routines, and boundaries, and those boundaries don't limit you, they protect you. They protect your time, your energy, and your focus. When you train your body daily, eat with intention, work with structure, and rest with purpose, your emotions stabilize. You no longer live in extremes. You are no longer reactive. You become dangerous in a quiet way because you are predictable to yourself, but unpredictable to the world. People say discipline is hard, but what's harder is living undisciplined and hating yourself for it. What's harder is knowing you could do more but choosing comfort instead. What's harder is watching others win while you make excuses. Discipline hurts, but regret hurts longer. Discipline demands sacrifice, but slavery to emotion demands your entire life. The disciplined person sacrifices temporary comfort for permanent self-respect, and self-respect is the real currency of confidence. When you trust yourself, you move differently, you speak differently. You act without hesitation because you know you'll follow through. Freedom is waking up with energy instead of exhaustion. Freedom is financial independence built from daily effort. Freedom is emotional control under pressure. Freedom is the ability to walk away from distractions, toxic people, and destructive habits because you are not addicted to easy dopamine. Discipline gives you options. The undisciplined have none. They are stuck chasing motivation, stuck waiting for the right time, stuck blaming circumstances. Discipline doesn't care about circumstances. It adapts, adjusts, and continues. When discipline becomes your lifestyle, your emotions start working for you instead of against you. Confidence replaces doubt. Pride replaces shame. Calm replaces anxiety. You don't need external validation because your daily actions validate you. You stop needing hype because your routine carries you. This is real power. The power to command yourself. And if you can command yourself, the world becomes negotiable. Opportunities appear because you are ready. Pressure sharpens you instead of breaking you. You stop asking life for permission and start taking responsibility for outcomes. In the end, discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. It is the highest form of self-love because it chooses long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. It is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Without it, freedom is an illusion sold to weak minds. With it, freedom becomes real, earned, and unbreakable. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because freedom without control is chaos, and chaos always ends with regret. When a person lives guided by emotion, they mistake impulse for choice and comfort for peace. Emotions change by the hour, sometimes by the minute, and when they are in control, your life has no direction. You work when you feel motivated, you quit when it gets uncomfortable, you commit when you're excited, and you disappear when resistance shows up. That is not freedom. That is slavery to whatever feeling shows up next. Real freedom begins the moment you decide that your actions will no longer depend on how you feel. It begins when you choose principle over impulse and structure over mood. Most people don't realize how much power emotions steal from them. Fear convinces them to wait. Laziness convinces them to delay. Anger makes them destroy opportunities. Pleasure distracts them from purpose. Over time, emotions quietly build a prison where potential rots unused. Discipline breaks that prison door. Discipline is the ability to act with clarity when emotions are loud. It is the refusal to negotiate with weakness. When you say you will do something and you do it regardless of discomfort, you reclaim authority over yourself. That authority is freedom in its purest form. Discipline trains the mind to obey logic instead of feelings. When the body is tired but you still move, the mind learns that excuses are not commands. When the work is boring but you stay focused, the mind learns endurance. When temptation appears but you resist, the mind learns restraint. Over time, this creates emotional stability. You are no longer reactive. You are no longer shaken by pressure. You stop being controlled by praise or destroyed by criticism. A disciplined person is calm in chaos because their behavior is not dictated by emotional storms. Without discipline, people live in cycles. Motivation comes, action follows briefly, discomfort appears, and quitting becomes inevitable. This cycle repeats until self-trust is destroyed. Once you stop trusting yourself, confidence collapses. Discipline rebuilds that trust. Every disciplined action is a promise kept to yourself, and every kept promise strengthens identity. You no longer wonder who you are, you become someone who shows up, finishes, and executes. That identity brings confidence without noise and strength without arrogance. Freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you want. That version of freedom leads to addiction, weakness, and dependency. True freedom is being able to do what is necessary even when you don't want to. It is the ability to delay gratification, endure pain, and remain consistent. Financial freedom comes from disciplined saving and effort. Physical freedom comes from disciplined training and health. Emotional freedom comes from disciplined thinking and response. Every form of freedom is built on structure, not spontaneity. Discipline also removes mental clutter. When your life has rules, routines, and standards, decision fatigue disappears. You don't argue with yourself. You don't waste energy debating whether to act. You simply act. This clarity creates peace. Anxiety thrives in undisciplined lives because nothing is certain, nothing is consistent, and everything feels out of control. Discipline restores order, and order creates calm. Calm allows focus, and focus produces results. Many people say discipline is too strict, too harsh, or too limiting, but what truly limits a person is emotional slavery. Being unable to control your reactions, habits, and impulses is the real restriction. Discipline expands your options. It gives you the power to walk away from toxic situations, resist destructive habits, and stay committed under pressure. The disciplined individual is not trapped, they are equipped. In the end, discipline is not about punishment or suffering. It is about respect. Respect for your time, your potential, and your future. It is choosing who you want to become over who you feel like being today. Without discipline, emotions will always drag you back to comfort and excuses. With discipline, emotions fall in line, and freedom becomes something you live, not something you chase. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because a life led by emotion is a life permanently unstable, reactive, and controlled by forces that cannot be trusted. Emotions are temporary, inconsistent, and often dishonest, yet most people allow them to decide when they work, when they quit, when they commit, and when they retreat. When you obey emotions, you surrender authority over your future. One day, you feel inspired and promise yourself everything will change. The next day, discomfort arrives and that promise disappears. This pattern repeats until years pass and nothing improves. That is not bad luck, and it is not lack of opportunity. It is emotional slavery. Freedom begins only when you stop asking how you feel and start deciding how you act. A disciplined person understands that emotions are signals, not commanders. Feeling tired does not mean stop. Feeling afraid does not mean retreat. Feeling unmotivated does not mean delay. Discipline creates a separation between internal noise and external behavior. You may feel resistance, but you act anyway. You may feel doubt, but you move forward anyway. Over time, this rewires the mind. The brain learns that discomfort is not dangerous and that excuses are not acceptable. This is how inner strength is built, not through comfort, but through repeated acts of self-control. Without discipline, people become prisoners of short-term pleasure. They chase what feels good now and avoid what feels hard now, never realizing that this trade guarantees long-term pain. Skipping work feels good for a moment, but creates stress later. Avoiding responsibility feels easy, but builds anxiety. Indulging every impulse feels like freedom, but slowly removes all control. Discipline reverses this equation. It accepts short-term discomfort in exchange for long-term peace. The disciplined individual suffers with purpose instead of drifting without direction. Discipline also creates self-trust, and self-trust is the backbone of confidence. When you constantly break promises to yourself, you begin to doubt your own word. You hesitate, overthink, and second-guess because you know deep down that you may quit again. Discipline repairs this damage. Each time you do what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable, you rebuild credibility with yourself. That credibility becomes quiet confidence. You no longer need motivation, validation, or approval. You move with certainty because your past behavior proves your reliability. Emotional slavery is loud. It looks like constant complaining, blaming circumstances, and waiting for motivation to arrive. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up early, stays consistent, and keeps going when no one is watching. That quiet consistency creates power. A disciplined life produces results that look effortless to outsiders, but are built on daily control and restraint. Freedom is not loud rebellion against rules, it is mastery within them. True freedom is the ability to remain calm under pressure. It is the ability to choose your response instead of reacting impulsively. Discipline trains emotional regulation. When anger arises, you pause instead of explode. When fear appears, you assess instead of flee. When stress increases, you focus instead of collapse. This control gives you an advantage in every area of life. Most people lose opportunities not because they lack talent, but because they lose control of their emotions at the wrong moment. Discipline also creates structure, and structure creates clarity. When your days have intention, routines, and standards, your mind stops racing. Anxiety often comes from unpredictability and lack of control. A disciplined schedule reduces chaos. You know when you work, when you train, when you rest, and when you improve. This predictability calms the nervous system and allows deep focus. Clarity replaces confusion, and with clarity comes momentum. Many people reject discipline because they believe it restricts freedom. In reality, the absence of discipline is the true restriction. Without discipline, you are controlled by habits you didn't choose, reactions you didn't plan, and outcomes you don't like. Discipline puts you back in control. It gives you the power to design your life instead of reacting to it. It allows you to say no to distractions, addictions, and people who drain you. That ability to say no is real freedom. At its core, discipline is an act of respect for your future, your potential, and your standards. It is choosing to become someone dependable instead of someone emotional. Without discipline, emotions will always pull you toward comfort and excuses. With discipline, emotions lose their authority, and freedom stops being a dream and becomes a daily reality. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because without it, your life becomes a reaction instead of a direction. When emotions lead, consistency disappears, and when consistency disappears, progress collapses. Emotions are powerful but unreliable. They rise and fall based on sleep, stress, opinions of others, and momentary pleasure. If your actions depend on how you feel, your results will always be accidental. One day you push forward, the next day you retreat, not because the path changed, but because your mood did. That instability keeps people trapped, constantly starting over, constantly explaining why this time was different. Discipline ends that cycle by removing emotion from decision making and replacing it with standards. A disciplined person understands a hard truth. Feelings are not facts, and discomfort is not danger. When you wait to feel confident before acting, you give fear control. When you wait to feel motivated before working, you give laziness control. When you wait to feel ready before committing, you give doubt control. Discipline reclaims that control. It says action comes first, feelings follow later. You don't train because you're motivated. You become motivated because you train. You don't build confidence by thinking. You build it by doing what you said you would do. This reversal is where freedom begins. Without discipline, people drift toward whatever is easiest. Comfort becomes the default, and comfort slowly destroys ambition. The human mind will always choose the path of least resistance unless it is trained otherwise. Discipline is that training. It conditions you to choose effort over ease, purpose over pleasure, and long-term gain over short-term relief. This choice is not made once, but daily. Each disciplined decision strengthens self-control, and self-control is the gateway to independence. A person who cannot control their impulses cannot control their life. Emotional slavery often disguises itself as authenticity. People say they are just being real when they quit, explode, indulge, or avoid responsibility. But authenticity without discipline is simply uncontrolled behavior. True strength is not expressing every emotion, it is mastering them. Discipline does not suppress emotions, it puts them in their proper place. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel anger and still respond with intelligence. You can feel tired and still perform. This separation between feeling and action creates emotional maturity, and emotional maturity creates power. Discipline also creates resilience. Life will apply pressure whether you are prepared or not. Challenges, criticism, failure, and loss are unavoidable. The undisciplined collapse under pressure because they rely on favorable conditions to function. The disciplined adapt. Their routines hold them together when motivation disappears. Their habits carry them when emotions are heavy. This is freedom, knowing that no matter what happens, you will not fall apart. You are not at the mercy of circumstance because you have trained consistency. Many people chase freedom through external means, money, status, travel, relationships, without realizing that internal disorder will follow them everywhere. A person without discipline can escape environments but not patterns. They change jobs, cities, or partners, yet the same problems repeat because the same emotional reactions remain. Discipline fixes this at the root. It changes how you respond, how you choose, and how you persist. When your inner world is structured, your outer world begins to align. Discipline creates momentum. When actions are consistent, progress compounds. Small efforts done daily outperform bursts of emotional intensity. This compounding effect builds confidence quietly. You stop needing external motivation because your results motivate you. You stop needing validation because your discipline validates you. This internal stability is rare, and rarity creates advantage. While others are stuck negotiating with their feelings, you are executing. While others are waiting for the right mood, you are building. The irony is that discipline initially feels restrictive, but over time it becomes liberating. At first, rules feel heavy because the mind is used to indulgence. But as discipline strengthens, life becomes lighter, decisions become easier, stress decreases, self-respect grows. You gain freedom of choice because you are no longer controlled by impulse. You can say no without guilt and yes without fear. You are not dragged by emotion, you are guided by intention. In the end, discipline is not about forcing yourself into misery. It is about freeing yourself from the chaos of inconsistency and regret. Without discipline, emotions will always pull you toward comfort, excuses, and delay. With discipline, emotions fall into alignment, and freedom becomes something you live every day, not something you hope for someday. In the end, remember this: life does not reward intention, it rewards execution. You can feel inspired every morning and still end up nowhere if you don't move with discipline. The world doesn't care how strongly you feel, how badly you want it, or how unfair your past was. It only responds to what you repeatedly do. When pressure hits, emotions will beg you to slow down, to quit, to wait for a better time, but the strongest people move anyway. They understand that comfort is expensive, and discipline is the only currency that buys freedom. Every day, you either train your mind to lead or you allow your emotions to rule. There is no middle ground. Each decision, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you are becoming. Choose comfort and you vote for weakness. Choose discipline and you vote for power. Your future is not built in moments of motivation, but in moments of resistance, when no one is watching and quitting would be easy. Master those moments and life starts to change. Life lesson: if you don't control your emotions with discipline, your emotions will control your life, and freedom will always remain just out of reach.